So, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Top of the Week. And today we have got Mr. Keenan Lee, the random man from South Korea. Last time around, I said North. So, people, excuse me, that was not North, it was South Korea. So, and we have my buddy on the call, Indy. And by the way, anyone who's jumping in to listen to us, Mo will be joining us halfway. He's still walking, he's still taking that more airways. So, yeah. Cool. So Keenan, how are we doing, sir?
Pretty good. Flew back to Korea around 2 weeks ago, and I think I like just now got readjusted to the time zone here. So yeah, I mean I just told you guys it's midnight here right now, but yeah, I feel pretty good right now.
Good, 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 good. I mean, this one is getting right because the USAPL match just happened, and
Hmm.
we've had Ashton on, we had Bob. There's just so much going on that meet, right? And
Hmm.
we're not going to make this like a recap show, but more about just to pick up your brain and in terms of like the experience of everything we went through. Because again, probably is this fair enough for me to say this was the biggest USAPL meet you've ever done in American Soul, isn't it? This
It's
is the
the
second
biggest,
one.
yeah, it's the biggest
Yeah.
meet of my life for sure. Like the Arnold against Rondell, like I had another goal with that. It was just to secure the pro card, but this one was like
Mm,
just to go win. We were all in the same weight class. We were all just going for the highest total.
mm,
So
mm.
yeah, it definitely had the biggest stakes.
Yeah. So can you talk us through just basically like drawing back to the beginning in terms of like the training? How was the training in terms of like the prep leading to this national?
Not great. So like around a month after the Arnold, I'd say I was starting to have knee problems, and I didn't really I've had chronic knee problems pretty much my entire powerlifting career, but like this was starting to really affect my squat, like my the technique for squat, because it was my right knee, and I just couldn't load my right knee anymore. So I started going down weird. It started messing with my and lower back as well. So I got it checked out, and it's just a condition that I'm probably gonna have to deal with for the rest of my career. But it's something that like I can manage right now because I just know what it is. But that kept me from like squatting the way that I wanted to for I would say like a month and a half. And so this happened a month after the Arnold. So that's like by the time it got better, this was already like mid July or like late June, somewhere
Mm,
around there. So yeah, things weren't going well with the lower body lifts because deadlift kind of just followed suit as well, just because I wasn't being able to train squat effectively. Just my deadlift progression kind of stopped there as well. Bench went well, but like bench is my worst lift, and it's just I also just hate it. So like I don't but so it's so up and down for me. It did go pretty well like during the middle of training. I hit 227.5, like that was an all-time PR for me during the middle of training. But I also think the reason why I was able to do that was because I just wasn't squatting and deadlifting a lot. So I just had
mm,
the energy for it. And then like once I got back into regularly training the other two lifts, it just fell off a cliff for whatever reason. And then Joe and I slowly worked it back to like the number that we hit at nationals. We were obviously going for the 27, but we missed that. But like strength wise, that's around where I was, which is I guess pretty good because my bench has was plateaued at right at 220 for about three years. So and it was because of pec and shoulder issues, but now I'm slowly like breaking through that plateau. And now I think I can make some real progress with the lift. But yeah, that's how the bench went for
Can I can I
during prep.
can I jump in on that just quickly
Yeah.
for the listeners? Keenan says his bench is shit. He's a 105 benching 222. Just clarification for the listeners. So that's what Keenan's calling shit. So I'll just go fuck myself. But carry on, carry on, Keenan. Go on.
It's
So
just
basically,
it's just compared to the other two though, because the other two are like easily world record numbers, like if they're going well. And then my bench is just 20 behind Bob's. And like he's not around anymore, but Jake Amendola, he was the big bencher in our weight class. Like 2-3 years ago. I remember I think I saw him last compete in 2021, and he has like a 260 bench as a 105. So
Yeah,
What's
I
his
know
squat and
that.
deadlift like?
320, like it makes sense, but still, like if someone's benching 260, like 440 more than me in the same weight class, like then I don't have a good bench.
I mean, the only reason we're saying that because in this podcast we don't talk about bench.
Yeah,
But
we're
well
all
done.
shit benches. We're all shit benches.
Well done. But yeah, I mean, talking about the injury leading to that, again, these are the external factors that people sometimes don't cater in, don't think like, okay, if this happened, it can actually hinder the whole meet. So how about the traveling, my friend? Because you traveling from
Sorry,
South Korea.
you didn't finish your the rest of your prep stuff. Sorry, Keenan.
Oh,
We
gone.
butted in.
Oh yeah, right. So once my knee got better, my squat started picking up again, like really quickly. I think because squat is the most natural lift for me. It just the technique always made a lot of sense. Like deadlift, I don't have the longest arms, so it's always like I've had to really refine that technique over the years. And like the style that I deadlift, it's not like anyone else really does it too much. So I had to really find something that worked for me. But the squat has always been pretty natural for me. And yeah, as soon as my knee started feeling better, it started ramping up really quickly. And I hit 370 in training 2 weeks out. So that was like the heaviest squat of my prep. And that moved pretty well. And I mean, we'll talk about this later with how the meet went, but obviously I was planning for something more than 370 in the competition. It just didn't go that way.
Yeah, I mean, I remember seeing that squat. That was a good fight. That was a good weekly total. I think you hit 960. I think that week, wasn't it? The total or something.
Yeah.
So
It was 960, and there was a lot left in the tank for deadlift because that's how it was planned. But yeah, with that 960 total that week, originally I was planning for something around 975, 980.
Is he I mean another question for me, Keenan. Is it an American thing for these massive total during prep or during the peak? Because you hit 960 and Bob almost locked out 1,000 kilos. Is it just an American thing or is it just a training way?
I don't know. I don't know if it's an American thing because I'm not really part of that lifting culture because like I've lived in Korea for most of my lifting career. I think that's just me. And I like seeing Bob's training, he's just really like I don't really know how he keeps like is able to do that on such a consistent basis. Like going for 380, 390 deadlifts in training. Like if I do that, I'm done for like 4 months. Like I'm not touching that weight again. But so I don't really know how he does it. But for me specifically, like I can push squat pretty well in prep, and it'll still show up pretty well in competition, which is why I do that. And like and then for bench across the board, I think everyone can bench pretty heavy leading up to a meet without fatiguing themselves too much. But it might just be how Marcellus programs for Bob and Ashton that they're going for these huge numbers all the time. And I might be getting influenced by them a bit, just watching them lift and thinking to myself, well, okay, they're doing that. I have to follow suit.
I think it's natural, isn't it? Especially if they're in your weight cat.
Yeah, it's natural. It's definitely natural. I'm too competitive to just like let that go. So yeah, I mean, this happened in the meet as well. We push each other. It's good for us, but we also push each other to do really stupid things.
I mean,
just to chime in here, because I know you guys have been talking for a while.
Mhm.
Out of all three lifters, there was you, there was Bob, there was Ashton. I actually, if we did a preview podcast, I was actually going to pick you to win. And that was just due to the fact that I figured Ash and Bob will be playing this game of who's going to blink first. And I just figured you would go 9 for 9, and a 9 for 9 performance compared to their 8 for 9 performance will actually win the meet. But you kind of seem to also get drawn into that who's going to blink first, and you almost.
I wasn't drawn into it. I was part of it from the beginning. Like
Okay.
I think it was it was all three of I guess Marcellus can't hate Ashton too much, but Marcellus can definitely give shit to Bob, and Joe can definitely give me a lot of shit for this, but like that was never on the table for me, like getting a safe third in, knowing that the other two would miss, even though I knew they would. Like I knew all of this would pretty much happen. Like we'd all go stupid crazy on our third deadlifts and go for stuff that like is a 50-50 chance that we're gonna hit. So I knew all of that would happen. I think my only regret there is I probably should have just pulled into the lead after my second deadlift, right? Because I knew all of this was gonna happen on my third, and I wasn't gonna let it play out any other way.
Fair enough.
Cool. I mean, yeah. Just again, since you say we touch on the meet now, probably we'll go into the competition itself. So, in terms of like, I just want to get your pick on this one, Keenan, on the squat itself, the way the warm up started, because I know Bob mentioned three of you was on the same rack.
Yeah.
How was the atmosphere? How was the atmosphere there?
Well, okay, so it's the morning session, so there's 4 platforms, so we're not in prime time because of Ashton's schedule. So there's a lot of lifters in that morning session other than us. And like I was coaching I was handling a few days before, so I know how hectic that warm-up room could be. So I think Joe and Marcellus actually decided that we'd all just be warming up on the same platform just so that no one else would. Like like no one would even go near the platform, and that's pretty much how what ended up happening is like no one even stepped near our platform. Like it felt like really empty while there was like all of this going on next to us. So yeah, and then there were like just chairs around the platform, and it was just the 3 of us like eyeing each other during warm-ups. But we didn't have a lot of time to do that because our flight ended up only being 7 people. So warm-ups had to go really quickly. And then like once the meet started, like I don't really think that I was able to sit down comfortably like once ever since I got my first squat in. So it was a super hectic meet, and back in the warm-up room, the 3 of us were just right next to each other all the time. And like it was actually like pretty like we weren't like super like we were serious about the meet, but we weren't like glaring at each other in the warm-up room. Like we would still like talk to each other and stuff like that. But yeah, it was just a weird experience just because there were like I want to say like hundreds of other lifters competing in the same session. And then it was just the 3 of us here in this corner. And no one dared go near it.
Is it because of people knew these 3 they are on a serious battle, or people knew like I don't want to go on that platform because I don't want to be changing that many rates? Because
Imagine
sometimes
like imagine going to their platform like, oh, can I have 160 squat, please? It'll be like, what the fuck?
I think it was a bit of both, yeah. No,
What
go
was
ahead.
the goals going into the comp? So we know what you hit. What was the initial plan to hit, and then with the injury and everything happening, what was the changes and what numbers did you want to hit going into the comp, or was it a case of whatever the hell I need to win?
No, I did have like exact numbers in mind for squat and bench that I was gonna go for regardless. So for squat, I knew that Ashton was gonna go for a record on his second, but I knew that second attempt would be around like he would probably just chip his previous record, which was 370.5, so he'd go for 371. So I knew knowing that, and I had the lot number advantage over him as well. So my plan third was just to chip Ashton's second squat. And with the 370 that I hit in training, I knew that was a possibility. I knew that I'd be able to do it. So I was planning on 370, 1.5, 372, somewhere around there for my third squat. For bench, the third that I went for was the third that I wanted. I just didn't hit it. So those 2 numbers were always set in stone. And deadlift was just like, we'll see how things play out. And the third deadlift is just whatever I would need to go for the win. But actually the plan was, and if things went a bit better for squats, during squats, like I didn't have to take 4 squats and stuff like that. The plan was to be in the lead with subtotal. to be around a 600 subtotal, because I knew that both of them would be a bit short of that, with Bob's squat and Ashton's bench. Like I knew that if things went well for me, I'd go in with the highest subtotal. And so the plan was to like just keep pushing them on deadlifts, because we all deadlift around the same amount, and then push them to like expend a bit too much energy on their second deadlifts, and then let's just see what happens on our third deadlifts. But like that was the plan, but then it didn't really go to plan, so I went into deadlifts with the lowest subtotal, so then I had to pull for the win.
I mean, again, you touched down on this on the full squats, because some of us were watching it and we just went like, what the fuck? So can you just explain a little bit, give it a little bit more in there? What happened?
So on my second at first, so I took my second attempt twice. Again, this is a flight of only 7 lifters, so you're getting 10 minutes probably max between attempts anyway. But on my second attempt, which was 357 and a half, one of the spotters grabbed the plate, which he told me he came and apologized, and he also told me that he thought he saw the bar dip. So like, and that's not the spotter's fault. Like they have a super hectic like job, so like I'm not blaming him for anything, but that's just what happened with the second squat. So because it wasn't my mistake, they gave me a redo with the attempt at the end of the flight. But the end of the flight is just 2 lifters away because Ashton's the only one after me. So Ashton hits his second, and then they say you have 3 minutes after Ashton's attempt to go for your second again. And I'm sweating because I just missed my second, and also that happened 2 minutes ago. So I'm like drenched in sweat. And they don't really have like, because these situations don't happen often, so they're not really like counting down anything for me. They're basically just saying go when you're ready, but also make sure that it's within 3 minutes. And so I don't know how long that is. So I'm getting nervous. Like, am I out of time? Should I go? So I just went. So I just went, hit my second. It was slower than I anticipated it would be, but it was also my second rep of it. So I got that, and then quick turnaround. 8 minutes later, I have to go for my third. So my third, again, it was planned to be above 370, but we took a safe attempt at 365. I hit it, and looking at the speed of that 365, if things went well for me during squats, I probably did have the 370 plus squat. But that's just how it played out. So yeah, I finished with the 365 squat.
Did you ever think about just skipping your second? Was there a conversation with your coach about just skipping a second, going for third? Because I'll be honest, man, in that situation, that second rep in like fucking 3-4 minutes, that would kill most people, especially at those loads.
Yeah, there was a very brief moment in time, because we had to make the decision pretty quickly as well. But there was a very brief moment in time, where I was like, maybe I'll just skip the second attempt and just go. It's just a massive gamble with the third, because I'm going up on the third. Like I'm not retaking 357 and a half for a third. So it's at that point, it's just I'm in the meet or I'm out of the meet. Because if I only hit my squat opener, because of what I do with taking jumps from first to second, like I take massive jumps from that first to second, I'd finish squats with only 332 and a half. So in that scenario, if I miss my third squat, I'm out of the competition just completely. So like I knew it'd take a lot out of me, but also like I was just really annoyed that I had to take 4 squats. So I wasn't ever like doubting myself, like I'm gonna get through all 4 of these squats just because I'm pissed. So yeah, I told Joe that it would be like a bit more, I guess, calming for me if I get that second squat in before going into my third. So that's why we made that decision. And I don't really think that it actually affected me too much over the course of the meet. I think it may have burned me out a bit on deadlifts, but I don't think it was by much.
Again, I think Indy said it better than me, but taking those type of weight, a retake, it will kill anybody. You know what I mean? That's just like, that show how strong you guys are. You know what I mean? Because as a 105 to take on what 357 twice, it's just yeah, it's just incredible.
That's
It's just
2
incredible.
kilos below the IPF world record.
Exactly. And come on, take it twice.
Well,
Yeah.
give me a second. All right, go on then.
So I think again, my question is this has come down to the USAPL itself in terms of like the competition here, because you mentioned about you didn't know whether to go in or just to say go in when you're ready. How did the organization feel at the back, you guys being as athletes? Because us in the IPF, we can almost tell if the meet is being well run, or even the judging or whatever, they interfering a bit too much. We can tell that. How did that feel on your side?
It felt really out of control because again, it was the morning session, so like everyone's yelling at the top of their lungs, and um the scorers table doesn't actually have like direct communication with the judges. And so there was actually a lot of problems with that because my last deadlift 396.5 was never supposed to be that high. But there were issues with the scores table there. So I think it might just have been because it was the morning session and things were just so chaotic that people just messed up in places that they probably shouldn't have. But yeah, so that's where I felt like maybe if the three of us were in prime time, like none of the mistakes with our third deadlifts would have happened. Um, but everything else aside from that, like I mean, there were only 7 people in our flight, but it was supposed to be 10, but 3 people didn't show up for weigh-ins. Like you can't really do anything about that. So I think everything else was pretty smoothly run. It was just the mishaps with the third deadlifts.
I think the 7 people in the flight, and that's you guys almost testing the IPF experience on the prime time. So to me, I was happy when I saw the 7 people. I was like, these guys can actually see how it feels. When we cry about it, they think you guys are just crying. So I'm glad you guys went through that. So my next question is in terms of like you said, the morning session due to the fact that Ash had to fly, so you had to jump in and do it with him. So, is there anything you will ever change if they ask you to do this again? Would you rather go and do prime time or just compete against them again? Because the
I'm
advantage
competing.
here was on him.
I'm competing against them every time. Like if I were to redo this situation and they asked me, would you do prime time, but Bob and Ashton are in the morning session? Like I'd say no every time. I'm there specifically to compete against those two, and I don't really care where it is. So yeah, there's not like that part. That choice was like the easiest choice to make. Like as soon as I think I heard it from Joe first, but then I verified it with Ashton. I was like, okay, are you doing the morning session? And he was like, yeah. And it was immediate. It was like, okay, I'm doing the morning session too.
That's really good though. Again, that's the competitive mindset you guys have. That's something to applaud. So yeah. Moving on to bench again.
I was gonna ask though because there's one question because I didn't want to. We've talked about your squat performance. I mean, insane. I was watching that 4 attempts on squats. It's ridiculous. Your mentality to hold through that period was also insane. But looking at your history, you've gone from like because I wanted to get into your training because I think you're 6'1" and you're 105. We were having a discussion where you're a tall lifter, but you still have this very impressive squat at a 105 kg body weight.
Yeah.
What would you credit your success in the squat? Because let's say back in 2019, you were a 320 squat. Your bench has always been good. Your deadlift, I think there was potential there to pull 370 always. But your squat really was the one that blew up the most and really took you from, hey, I'm like below Ashton to now I'm right next to head to head with him. So what did you within the last 2 years, what has been your secret to like pushing your squat? Because you're a tall lifter and a lot of tall people will complain about their squats in general.
Right. A part of it is understanding, like, I guess, yeah, I'm definitely more so than others. I'm just more genetically gifted in building my quads. I don't need to hit a lot of volume with them. Like, other people are just hitting set after set after set of belt squats. Like, I don't really do that ever. I think that's a massive advantage for me because it's just a lot less fatigue that I have to deal with. But I think specifically for training the squat itself, there was a lot of technique adjustments that I made. Like they seem pretty minor, but if you were to compare my squat from nationals in 2019 versus now, like the way that I have the bar on my back, all of that and the stance, they all seem pretty similar, but like I've tweaked a lot of things just to make it a more efficient lift for me. But you actually you made the exact point that I wanted to make. It's just the recognition that I'm a tall lifter, and with those leverages, just you can't be hitting the same volume that a shorter lifter would. It's just too much stress on your body. So it's finding ways to to progress while still not beating yourself up too much. And for squat, that was simply going pretty easy on back down work. Like if you were to compare the weight that I use for a top set, maybe like if I go for a triple, that's always going to be above 320, 330. Right? But then the back down weight, like I don't think I've really done back down work with even 300 kg yet. So it's a sizable difference between what I do for top set work and what I do for back down work. And I think that's saved me from like overexerting myself with squats so that it can always continue to improve.
Okay, that's interesting because you've mentioned that you've prioritized, you've just learned how to squat more efficiently and also without keeping your top sets priority and reducing back down work. But because one thing I've always thought is for taller lifters, I would have thought that you'd have put more emphasis into something like a belt squat, because that way you can load and build the quads, but like you've also mentioned, you have naturally big quads.
Right. Yeah, I think for other people, they would have to do that, but quads have always been a really strong body part of mine. Like I haven't had to train them too hard for them to grow. And I still achieve the results that I want simply by squatting. So because I don't have to continue to do like all those belt squats, leg extensions, things like that, I think that gives me a bit more freedom to target squats the way that I want to when I'm specifically training a barbell squat.
Okay. What's your squat frequency, generally speaking, training wise?
Right now it's twice a week, and most of the time, I like to give myself a bit of a handicap with my secondary squat day. So like I'll go for a cop squat probably at least once a week, but that secondary squat day, I do want to limit the amount of weight that I actually have to squat while still maintaining a certain amount of intensity. So a lot of the time that's just simply switching over to high bar for that secondary day. It doesn't really affect technique too much. Like I've said before, squats are really natural lift for me, so like I can figure it out pretty quickly anyway, regardless of what variation that I do. But there is a pretty big difference between my like the weight that I could squat high bar versus low bar. So the fact that I can do high bar with a lower weight, but still kind of achieve the same effects that I want, I think that's really key in being able to progress continuously.
That is massive, and especially like when you mentioned saying you can't remember if you ever done any back down over 300. It's really interesting because a man that can score 370 plus, never done back down over 300. I've never seen it.
I'm very comfortable doing back down work with 250, and like it's easy, but it's like that's really all I need. Because but it also is because the top set is so heavy. Like that's pretty much the only stimulus that I need for an entire week is in that top set.
Makes sense. I mean, talking about, and Indy, you have you got a question before I say?
No, it's just funny to me how like you sat down with Bob and Ashton and now yourselves, and you're all top tier lifters, but the approach to each individual lift is fucking like so different. It's ridiculous. Like opposite ends of the spectrum. You're like a triangle. It's really weird. But it's good to see that it's not a one thing suits all approach between the three of you.
Yeah, pretty much what you said, and what you said there, Indy, like the result is almost like pretty much the same, although the approach are so far apart. But when you look at their numbers, it's pretty much the same thing. So that's very interesting to me. Keenan, my question to you would be: this is a bit controversial. The reason this question,
here we go.
has become controversial is because of the other 105 we have on the podcast. What would you rate your genetics?
Here we go. Here we go.
What would I
your
rate my what?
genetics? Your genetics are 10.
Genetics. Man, like I'll give it. I want to say 5, but I'll say 6.
Oh my fuck, that's amazing. Thank you. Thank
Are
you.
you,
You know
are you,
what?
are you having a laugh?
I don't agree
are
with you. I don't agree with you, but thank you for saying that. I appreciate that.
Keenan, are you joking? Are you joking, man?
Oh, absolutely not. Like I've been asked this a lot because people just want to understand, like, because it's not just like why is he so big? It's also why is he Korean and so big? Right? I've gotten this question a lot, but like I can only give myself a score that high. Like that 6 is the max that I can do because it's not a single person in my family who has an athletic background. Like no collegiate sports or anything like that. So
6.
But that just means that's their genetics, not your, like, do you know what I mean? Like you're obviously the
Not
next
liar.
step along.
Your genetics must be.
I 100% agree that I'm an outlier, and I also think maybe because my family is almost entirely academic, right? They're like well educated grad. They went to graduate school, like those types of people. So part of me thinks that maybe there's just a lot of untapped potential there because they didn't participate in sports. Maybe they would have excelled in them, but they just didn't do it. But like I don't know. That's just a big what if for me. All I can say is that I was born into a family of nerds and I came out like this.
That's
I
fair.
mean,
Paper similar.
Born in family of nerd. Did you just say paper similar?
Yeah, all Pape's parents are mathematicians. Like the parents teacher, I think his dad teaches university, his mom's a lecturer in maths, sister's like an actuary, and then there's just Pape on the side, just
Jesus Christ. So you guys basically, Keenan, you're just a freak, isn't it? You're just the freak of the family. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I definitely think so. Like, I think they're the genes are there for height. Because both my parents are pretty tall, are taller than average for Asian people of the same generation. But at the same time, like height's a disadvantage in powerlifting. So like that's irrelevant. So I don't really know where the ability to put on muscle and strength came from because if I look at my family, like they're just pretty average.
How about if I twist the? I was agreeing with you, then I'm no longer in your team now. But what would you rate your? So if you were to give yourself 1 out of 10, rate your squat, rate your bench, rate your deadlift, and then I'll also say how each of those 3 came naturally to you. What if you're going to give your squat a rating out of 10? What would you give it? How easy was it for you to start squatting heavy? Was it like did you have to spend a lot of time on technique, or it just came naturally to you? Same for your bench, same for your deadlift.
So squat, I would give it a 9 out of 10. The only reason I can't give it a 10 out of 10 is because Ashton's the 10 out of 10 in the 105s. So like I'm second. Like other than Ashton, there's no one else who can hit the weight that I do in the squat, at least at this body weight. But so 9 out of 10, and it's always come pretty naturally for me. When I first started powerlifting, like I came from like it wasn't bodybuilding. I just kind of messed around in the gym. But if you mess around in the gym, like you want to have fun, which means that you're not hitting legs. So when I first started out powerlifting, like my squat was my weakest lift, but it was just because I didn't do it too much. But it blew up. I remember when I was first started taking powerlifting seriously, I was at 220 kg, but within a year I was at 280. And then like it's just gone up pretty consistently since then, as long as like I'm not dealing with some sort of knee or hip injury. It goes up pretty consistently and it just feels really natural to me. Bench is almost the reverse scenario. It started out the strongest lift because you just growing up in America, like when you first start going to the gym, all people care about and all people ask about is how much you bench. So that's literally all I did. And so when I first started powerlifting, the bench was the strongest lift, but it's made the least amount of progress. And like it's injury is part of it as well, but understanding technique for bench press has always just been like has never really made sense to me. Just because like I feel like as a 105 or like 100s and the 93s might feel this as well. Um, you you kind of have to guess which technique is going to work for you because there's a good technique for like there's like one good technique for deadlift with one good way to squat, but there's two good ways to bench at this body weight. You can either sink in or you can do a soft touch. And I was so confused with that because I would look at like I would look at some of the lighter lifters and obviously they're all doing the soft touch, and then like you got someone like Bob who kind of replicates the same style of bench that Sean Noriega has, or someone of a lighter body weight. He just happens to do it at this heavier body weight, right? And then you look at I mentioned before Jake Amendola. He's the complete opposite, but he has an even bigger bench. And I was I remember being so confused with that, like which one do I do? And I still don't even know if the one I'm doing right now is the one that works for me. So bench, like I guess 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10. I don't know. I bench 500 pounds, so like I feel kind of good about that. So I guess I'll give it a 7 for now. Deadlift, I would give it an 8 out of 10. It's not the most it's not the most advantageous lift for me. I don't have the longest arms and I'm just tall, so there's a long range of motion. But it's the lift where I feel like I really had to work on technique the most, and it's the one where working on technique has benefited me the most. Because back in 2019, I was still deadlifting conventional, and it was right around the 330, 340 mark. That was my deadlift. But now, like, I should be hitting 400 probably within a year.
You can't, sorry.
Yeah.
You can't.
First of all,
it
yeah, you
doesn't
can't
work.
claim
be
6 out
six.
of 10.
You can't say your genetics are like 5, 6, and then like 9 out of 10, 9 out of 10. Like,
But I think
this is what Mo does.
No.
You're basically Mo. You're above 105. You think you're 6 out of 10 genetics, but you're actually 9.
I think it
Come
is
on.
a 105 thing, isn't it? Is it a 105 thing?
105 thing.
I think
Yeah.
it's just a tall 105 thing.
It's
But
a tall
I think I can relate to Keenan in the sense of I think the only difference is while squat came for you naturally, squat was the most horrendous thing for me. So it's taken a very, very long time. You literally mentioned knee, hip pains. I'm literally dealing with knee and hip pain. It's like it's just standard. The taller you are, the more shit you're gonna deal with when you squat. But with the bench, soft touch or sink, I'm still trying to figure out which one works. And deadlift, I saw that massive boost in my deadlift when I really, really focused on the technique. And that paid off massively.
And for me, it was abandoning a technique that that was considered the standard. Like,
yeah,
I can't do a wide stance sumo. Like, the reason why I do the narrow stance isn't for some aesthetic reason. I just can't do it. And that's the technique that works the best for me. And because few people do it, like I was kind of just on my own trying to figure out how it worked, but like I put a lot of time into it. And now like I really feel like I found something that worked. And now it's like as long as it's also benefited me so in the way like because I train conventional a lot during meet prep. I only pull sumo like maybe once a week. But that technique still holds up because I worked on it for so long.
Okay, cool. Since we established that your genetics are 8.5, 9 out of 10. So now, because you can't be a 6 when you are pretty much one of the best 105 in the world, pretty much like probably the second
Ever.
best, or you know what I mean, ever. You can't be a 6. There's no way. Otherwise, I'm gonna sell my car. Let's move on to bench press. So because we had Bob and Ashton, they were talking about. Sorry about me laughing, guys. They were talking about them taking 2 warm-ups. How was it for you?
I saw them do that, and I was like, I knew that because the flight before us was a short flight. Like I knew how quick the meet was gonna be, and I was just thinking because I took all my warm-ups.
Oh, nice.
Like I flew through those. I did every single set that I wanted to do, and I was just looking because Ashton did his warm-up with 70 at around the same time that I did, and then he just stopped for like 8 minutes, and then all of a sudden he's loading 180. because he's ran out of time. And I was just watching this this entire time going like, is that the plan? Like, do they just want to save energy? Is that why they're going from 70 to 180? And then I hear after the meet that they just didn't know that the meet was going to be that fast.
Yeah, because that's the exact same thing they said to us. They said like, oh, the meet was that fast that literally like the warm up they just have to do two. And because Bob, I think, is someone that practicing in training. To him was probably just the same thing. It was nothing new in terms of taking big jumps. So how did the bench press went for you in terms of like on the platform now, from your attempts to your loss? How did you feel? Because since you said apparently your bench is weak over 220 plus, so yeah.
Yeah, Mo wasn't here for that. I think you need to repeat that for Mo so you can ruin his
when he
day.
comes back.
Yeah, when he comes back.
Yeah, he said that his bench is weak, by the way.
Yeah,
Your weak
Mo,
bench.
222, Mo. He goes, my bench is weak, Mo.
Yeah. How did your 220 weak bench went? How was it?
So I don't know if Bob and Ash mentioned this because all three of us talked about it. Our start command was really late. And that's why, like, in training right now, like if you see me post bench videos right now, I'm waiting like 5 to 10 full seconds before I start a bench, just because I got so paranoid about that. Like, you might think like, is the video not working? I'm just holding it there forever. But because I got a really long start command. I remember thinking on with the first bench, like it's lightweight, so you have a bit of freedom to just be like, okay, it's a long start command. The second bench, I remember having the bar right here and going, okay, my heels are down, my butt is down, my head's on the bench. That's not even a rule in the USAPL, but my arms are locked out. Like, I know all of these things are where they're supposed to be. Why isn't she saying anything? So, and I remember like, oh God, this is taking a really long time. So I hit that second bench. But I got kind of concerned with the third bench because Bob and Ashton both take a second breath after they unrack the bar. Before like right after they get a start command, they take a second breath. I don't do that. Like, it's just one breath and then I just hold it there and I go. So which is why like I've like developed a bench technique where I can get a quick start command. But it was just late that day. So I remember on my third bench, like I felt like I was running out of breath as I was getting the start command. So I got the start command, like it moved pretty well off the chest, but then I blacked out on the third. So that me failing that bench, it was just because like everything went dark.
So it was not a strength thing. It was just like because it was so
like
quick.
I just completely lost it. Yeah. And
I was
then,
gonna say like your opener looked good. This is the heaviest you've ever opened them with, like 212. That's 212.5.
Yeah.
Your 222 looked good. So I was actually surprised when you missed the last attempt.
Yeah. It's the strength felt there. It felt like really fast off the chest. I was like, okay, like if I can just get this to where it needs to be, it's going to be a slow lockout, but I should be able to grind it out. I remember thinking that, and then waking up with the spotters putting the bar back on the rack.
I think, to be honest, I mean, you failing a third attempt is not surprising if you're because you're given your bench is weak. So that's a given.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a trash lift.
That's given.
I agree. It's a trash lift.
We can all agree. So in terms of like, because when all of that was happening, did you know what was happening with Ashton and Bob as well in terms of their lift? Did you know that Ashton missed his third as well?
I knew that Ashton missed his third because the way that it was set up, we were kind of like when we were waiting for our turn, we were actually outside of the curtain and watching the previous lifter lift. So I knew that Ashton missed his third. I thought that Bob would miss the third because I saw his second on replay, and because the second there was a bit of a grind there, so I thought he might miss the third. But then so I thought Bob missed the third, but then I saw the lifting cast and it showed that he hit the lift, and then looking back at it, it was faster than his second. But yeah, so we're always seeing what the person in front of us does.
Nice one. So at this point, you already knew where your position was, so you knew that the deadlift would be a bloodbath.
Yeah. I knew that like I'd have to pull something crazy for the win. It's just this is I think where the short flight really um messed with us because we didn't really have a lot of time to game plan for it. Because like thinking back at it now, like I really should have just pulled myself into the lead on the second deadlift.
I was gonna say, yeah, because if you'd done literally what you'd done during the Arnold Pro, which was a 377, you would have won the meet.
Right. So like I should have done that. That was a complete like lack of foresight, but it was so quick. Like I remember like if I wanted to use the bathroom, like I would do my first attempt, use the bathroom, and by the time I got my singlet back on, I'd be rushed back on to do my second attempt. So that's how quick the meet was progressing. So like that never really crossed my mind. So I remember hitting my first deadlift and just telling Joe like, okay, let's go for our planned second. But that was a stupid move. It should have we should have gone for the lead.
I'm glad you're talking about the timing and the quick flights as well. I'm really glad because, again, I think I said this in the beginning. These brought back a lot of conversation in the past. Us IPF lifters, when we were talking about it, people were thinking we were just whining and talking shit. Do you know what I mean? Some people were saying, "Oh yeah, you're a lifter. You should get used to it. You should adapt." No, it does affect you, mate. It does. As you said, like you go to the bathroom, you're worried if someone is in front of you because you're thinking, "Oh
Yeah.
my god, I'm gonna miss her attempt because it's so
Yeah.
short." You know
The
what I
thing
mean?
is, people say you should train like that, but it's not conducive to like good training. If you
Yeah.
if you're like 3 minutes, "Oh, I'm gonna squat 98% again. 3 minutes, let's do it again. Like it doesn't make sense to train
Yeah.
that fast, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I actually think like for the most part, powerlifters are equipped to handle a short flight. It's like in terms of like the rest time. Like if it's a short flight of 6 or 7 lifters, powerlifters for the most part, like no one's, especially at the elite level, no one's so out of shape that they can't take their next attempt within 6 or 7 minutes. It's all of the other stuff that needs to happen within 6 or 7 minutes that makes you feel really rushed. Like the bathroom thing is a big one because I drink a ton of water during meets, so I'm like I'm either lifting or I'm pissing. So it's because of that, like everything just feels super rushed. You don't have time to like sit and get any food in. Like I feel like I was really bad with handling what I was eating during the meet as well.
Just because I know
Hey
Indy
guys,
loves.
I go kids in the background, so that's how I keep
No,
on
that's
going.
fine. I was gonna ask you though, because I know Indy loves this question. What's your nutrition like? So I know you're 105.
Mo started talking about nutrition, had a meltdown. That sounds about right.
So the question
Basically,
is,
once
Wait, let me ask my question. Let me ask my question. Okay, you're a big 105. Like I saw a picture of you next to Carrie Tons. His name's on Instagram. You look bigger. You look as big as the man, and he's a 120. So what's your nutrition like? Like how do you eat for training and in general? Also, what's your meet day nutrition like normally? I know you said this one was a bit of a mess, but what's your meet day nutrition like normally?
Okay, so my nutrition on a regular basis, it's changed a bit it's actually changed a bit within the past few months because I mean this is getting a bit more personal, but my girlfriend handles a lot of my meals for me now. And if you're just a single guy living alone, which I was before that, your nutrition is shit. So it was always a struggle for me to stay at 105. Like even though I'm tall, and like I look big, if you see me in person, I think what a lot of people say is like I don't really have the physique of a powerlifter because I have a really thin waist, and that's where like a lot of the mass is missing, and that's why I can stay at 105 at this height. But yeah, it's hard for me to stay at 105 typically. Now it's a bit. Now I'm just eating more and eating more frequently. It's hard to get protein in, and like I don't want to get it just from meat sources as well. So I try to diversify the type of protein that I get. And then a lot of the carbs, I mean, I live over here in Korea, so there's just a lot of rice involved. And I think that does the trick because rice is just easy to get down, but and you can just fuel yourself a lot with it. Other than that, I mean, it's just like I guess what a typical athlete would eat, just a lot more of it. And then the meat day nutrition is also pretty standard. It's like the meal that I eat after weigh-in is pretty high sodium, and it's just heavy on the carbs. And then over the course of the meet, um, it's like I prefer fruit over. I don't really understand the whole Sour Patch Kids things that people do in America, like with the candy. I mean, I have Skittles, but like I'm not just downing bags of Skittles. So it's just a lot of bananas, a lot of Gatorade, and just a lot of water. And but for this meat, normally like I tell myself, okay, I'm gonna take a bite out of the banana at this time, and then I'm gonna take a sip of water here, and then a sip of Gatorade here. Like it's really structured, but this time, like it was just, oh, I forgot to eat something because I was in the bathroom, and then I took my second squat, and now like I have like a 30-second window to get all this food in, so I'm just gonna eat it all at once. So that's what the meat was like.
What's your like calories and macro breakdown like day to day? At the moment, you said you struggle to get protein in, but what is it generally? Do you track your calories and macros as well, or are you growing up into a weight category? What's the plan?
Well, the plan is, I guess this is a bit of a spoiler, but the plan is to stay at 105 because the plan is to go to IPF eventually.
Yeah, buddy.
That's sick.
Yeah, but the macros, I honestly don't really know too much. I have a decent idea of where it's at. Probably I'll get like 3,500 calories in, or somewhere around there. And the protein is probably like it should be around 230 to 240 grams. But I really struggle at getting that much protein in. So it's probably more around 210.
I was going to ask a quick question though. In terms,
before you ask, can you get your girlfriend in, because she's the one that does it, so she knows all the information.
That's a trade secret. I'm not disclosing that information to anyone.
You know what? It sounds a lot like my nutrition, to be honest, because like most of my carbs are rice. It's just easier to get down. It's voluminous. I probably have more kimchi than you, though, if I'm perfectly honest, because I drown my veg.
You definitely do. I don't eat kimchi at all.
Yeah, I remember you saying that last time on a podcast. I remember watching it, and I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, where's the pause button? Come on, let's give him some shit." It's for me, it's just such a nice food for gut health, and just keeps me
right. For me, it's just the food that my parents have shoved in my face ever since I was a baby. So I've just
rebelling against it.
Yeah, like no.
To be honest with you, I'm probably like that with rice and potatoes. Like it's been my staple from day one. So I'm not a big fan of eating rice and potatoes all the time. Quick question though, in terms of you talking about your protein variety, like you say you try and get your protein not just from meat but from all the sources. Mm-hmm. I'm guessing do you use a lot of protein powder, or you try and avoid protein powder and actually get it from food? Is that something you actively
I try to get a lot of it from food, but and I try to avoid protein powder. It's not for like the reasons that most people are expecting. I just can't stand the taste of it. Like regardless of what flavor it is, like if it's no flavor, it tastes like wood shavings, and then if it is a flavor, it tastes artificial to me. So like I have trouble getting protein powder down. So that's why I try to get it from other sources.
Okay. So I'm with you, man, 100%. I can only have one shake a day. It's vanilla, and it has to go in cereal or in something else like porridge. I can't drink. It gives me the bloat. It makes me feel horrendous. I just hate drinking it.
Yeah, it sucks. I can't even do what you do and mix it with stuff. Like I just have to like I drink it like someone takes medicine. Like it's just like I'll block the nose, get it down, wash your mouth out, and then try to eat something else to keep it down.
I'm gonna make a kimchi flavored protein shake just to piss you off.
Absolutely disgusting.
I mean, you guys talking about food. That's why I stayed quiet. I left the platform on you.
I was gonna say, because I'm looking at, I've got like 150 grams of black protein to catch up on. I'm like, yeah.
I have to force these. I genuinely have to bully these two into fucking eating. I don't understand why they don't like eating. Like, for me, I just don't get it. Like,
I think for me, it's like what Keenan said there. I think I've been forced in all my life by my parents to eat, but now I'm an adult. I just said, look, I don't want to eat. I will eat whenever I want. So yeah, don't want to eat food. So what?
That's why your bench begins with a 1.
So you
Keenan begins with a 2. I'm joking. No, move on. Let's go.
I love the way Indy move on from bench just like that. You know?
He's got to be done. Listen, how are we gonna just fucking gloss over the fact that Keenan said he wants to come to the IPF? That's what I
No,
want.
we're gonna go back.
No.
Yeah.
No, don't worry. We've got there.
Spoiler alert.
Let's finish the meat first, right? The last one is the deadlift, right? And the deadlift, that's where the dramas happen, right?
Mhm.
So take us through the whole motion of the deadlift in terms of like, I'm not
We've
talking about
heard
the
3
warm-up.
different stories so
Yeah,
far about
yeah,
what
3
happened
different
on the
stories.
deadlift.
So what's your story on the deadlift?
So the story on deadlift was we actually messed up with our opener as well, because Bob and I opened at the same weight, and it wasn't supposed to be that because what I wanted to do was actually I wanted to open last, so that I knew what the other two would do for their second attempts before I put in my second. So that first deadlift was actually supposed to be 47.5, not 45. So that was a mistake there already. The second deadlift, like the original plan was 370 for a second, but that should all have been thrown out the window because the meet didn't go as planned. But yeah, we did 370 for the second, and then the third deadlift, that's like when everything like nothing went to plan. So I remember putting in 400 as just a placeholder, just to see what the other two would do. And then Ashton put in 388 or 388.5, I think, for his third. So I remember that we lowered it to 396.5, and I don't actually know what the reasoning for that was because I actually didn't talk to Joe about that weight choice. I think that was the one that would give me the win if both Bob and Ashton hit. I'm not too sure about that though. But so that was the weight that was set at when Ashton went for his final deadlift. So he missed that, which put him at the 968 total. And then because Bob and I can't go below that, but Bob has the lot number advantage over Ashton, he could go for the same weight. So I thought he would, and I don't know the story there of why Bob ended up still going for the 392.5. All I saw was that he was going for it, and then the spotter stopped him from lifting for a weight change, but then the weight didn't change. So I have no idea what happened there, but Bob ended up going for 392.5. And he missed that. So that means that I have to go for I think that means I have to go for 393 because I had the because Bob had the highest lot number out of the three of us. So I had to go for 393. And but either there was some miscommunication with me and Joe, but what happened was Joe put in 392.5 as the weight change. But because I have the lower lot number, I can't put in that same weight. So they told Joe that he couldn't do that. Like he has to, it has to be 393. And during that, we ran out of time to change the weight because the bar was loaded. But what should have happened, so this is a scores table error. What should have happened was when Joe submitted the 392.5, because I have the lower lot number, it should have been automatically bumped to 393. So 393, right? 393 should have been my final deadlift, if the scores table like understood the rule book correctly. But because of that miscommunication, because of that error, 396.5, like the weight that we chose in case both of them hit, ended up just being the weight that I had to go for.
All right. So did you guys, of course, spoke about this with the meet director or anything? Because these are huge errors. Do you know what I mean? In terms of like, I know, as you said on the squat, we can't really blame the volunteers because they are under pressure and all of that stuff. But at the end of the day, you've trained for a year for a meet like this, right? And you're not going up against a random dude from South Korea. You know what I mean? You're the random guy now. So you're going up
Mhm.
against Ashton and Bob, and mistakes like this happening is upsetting. Have you guys spoken with the meet director about this?
This isn't something that I want to like talk to anyone about, because like I don't really know what the what could be done about it at this point. Like even then, like if it was a mistake and people realized it was a mistake, what are they gonna do? Could like come to me after I fail 396 and go, "You want to try 393?" Like I wouldn't have been able to hit that at that point either. So
But
but I also like
it's about you guys making sure your federation is run properly and these things are fixed in the long term, because
right,
it can happen
right.
again.
It could happen again. I think like this is just speculative from me. But I think because I think during prime time they would have the best of the best, like people who know the rule book front and back. We were in the morning session, but I thought that, you know, okay, it's the morning session, but it's also Bob, Ashton, and I. So like they know that third attempt changes are going to be made. They know that all three of us are going for first. Like I thought that like they'd have, I guess, the people who at least knew exactly what was going on. And also just better communication between the judges and the scores table, at least for our meet, because of how high the stakes were. But yeah, that just ended up not being the case, I guess. But I'm not sure if Joe has talked to them. Maybe I'll talk to him about talking to them. But like, there's nothing that can be done for me at this point. It's just
No, of course not. It's
it's
just
just
like for the
yeah.
others.
Yeah, it's
You
just
know.
telling the federation now, like this mistake was made this time, so like make sure that it doesn't
Yeah.
happen next time.
Yeah, because you have Bob, Ashton, and you arguably you have your three best lifters in your federation competing. So you have to
Mhm.
give them the best you can offer in terms of organization. Do you know what I mean? Because
Right.
you're me, as much like we're talking here, we're laughing, but what you guys total in any other federation, any of you will be a champion. Do you know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
Any of you will be a
Yeah.
champion. So
Yeah.
it's incredible. So yeah, now I think we finished with the deadlift. You went to 396 and a half.
Mhm.
You know how heavy that 396 felt,
Yeah.
but I'm sure that you moved that 390. Did you move it off the floor?
Yeah, it got to his knees.
It got to my knees. It got to my
Yeah.
knees.
Oh,
It was
so
pretty good,
you
actually.
so you
Yeah.
moved your 396 further than Mo moved the 391.
Yeah,
The
and
idea
further
doesn't
than
come
you
in.
ever got to win an IPF World. So
This just these two having digs at each other, Keenan. Just ignore them.
Oh God, oh that 391, I can never forget that. Oh, I lost my
Mo's
voice for
having
two.
nightmares.
So
Oh,
yeah,
days.
I mean, well done, by the way. To be honest, again, I know you didn't win. You came third. You went there to win, and you didn't get what you wanted. But for people like us that watch it from far, it was an incredible meet. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Three of you guys
Yeah.
went for it, and it was no literally like it was all gas, no break. That's it. And then one of the things we didn't mention until now is no one, even myself, I'm not gonna lie to you, Keenan. I'm a big fan, but I was not expecting you to come to that meet that strong. I was not, especially on your deadlift, because a few weeks prior to that, you did a meet in South Korea. What was that
Yeah.
all about?
Money.
Fair.
Reasonable.
That makes sense, doesn't
it,
it?
it was South Korean nationals, and it's just like at this point, like there's no one who can like even come. I should have just done openers and walked away with the check. That's 100% the smart thing to do. I just it's just not in my character to do that though. But yeah, I did that meet in August. Like I didn't really peak for it or anything. It just happened to like coincide with the last heavy day of that particular training block before my peak into nationals. So and I was like, yeah, this will help pay for some of the trip. So that's why I did it.
But that total was huge
Yeah,
for
It was
not
950.
peaking on the
Yeah,
meet.
yeah,
But that's
yeah. It was
huge
950.
for you not peaking on the meet. You're going to hit 950. That's ridiculous. And I'm sure Bob and Ashton were aware. They were watching, thinking, if this guy's peak, fucking hell. So yeah, I mean, the next step I think I'm going to move us is about the IPF conversation, right? And I
Mhm.
think in the past we've spoken about the politics that's going on in South Korea with the IPF and all of that crap is going on in there. So I think we heavily spoke about it. Probably we're not going to touch about much on it. This is just on you in terms of like moving forward. You mentioned here you might be going to the IPF.
Yeah.
Questions are, when is that? What are you doing in terms of like the route to you to get to IPF, and what has changed the decision of you to move to IPF?
Okay, well, I'll start with the last one. And the last one is Sheffield. That's the big one. I just want to be on that stage. Like I saw like the quality of meat that could be run, and I also saw the level of competitor that I could be competing against. And it was just the combination of those two things. Just like I have to be on that stage at some point in my powerlifting career. So that drove all of it. Because like honestly, IPF Worlds. Well, now that Ashton's switching over to IPF, it's not a guarantee. It's obviously not a guaranteed win for me in the 105s. But you know what? Like I'll just say this because Anatoly called Ashton out. He doesn't stand a chance against the two of us. So like that wasn't too much of a draw to IPF for me, in terms of like the competition, because like 940 is like it's heavyweight for me, but it's also something that I should at this point in my powerlifting, it like with my strength be able to hit on second attempts. So it wasn't like I want to go there to like I want to push myself by going to the IPF, because like traveling for nationals for me is already the longest I can travel anyway. So and then IPF Worlds, like honestly, I don't like how the meet looks. It seems kind of quiet. Like what's the like where's the enjoyment in competing at IPF Worlds other than the fact that you're competing to win? Like with Sheffield, like you saw the crowd and you saw like the lights and stuff like that. Like it feels like an important stage to be on. Whereas like when I see the streams for IPF Worlds, like this has like the environment of a local meet. It just happens to be IPF Worlds. So
I think
like there wasn't too much.
One thing I was just going to say here is because I've actually been thinking about this myself. I think what people miss out on is that experience internationally. So I'm guessing, for example, for your nationals meet, everyone kind of went there, but it was a nationals event, so people were only there for about a day or two, and people mainly came for the day they want to compete. With something like IPF Worlds, there's the IPF Hotel where you're first of all, you're starting powerlifting. You're going to be there for about a week on a bit. Literally, it's going to be everyone from different sections of the world. You go down to breakfast, you're seeing some random guy from Australia who's a big fan of you. You can have discussions. Matt Gary's there. You know, all these big names from across the powerlifting world come together for 1 week and a bit, and you have that whole experience. So yeah, we don't have the biggest crowds,
right?
But you can still step on that platform, and the names that matter are there in that crowd. So it's always one thing to look at too.
Yeah, I can only speculate because I've never been.
The crowd base changing as well, because when you look at Malta, we had a crowd in Malta. Of course, it was not thousands and thousands of people, but in Malta, we had a number of people that we never had in the IPF meet. You know what I mean? Especially the battle over the 74s. I don't know if you watched the battle 74 when Taylor was lifting. I mean, that crowd was ridiculous. I could not get a seat. I went for a piss. I came back. I couldn't even go through and go back to my seat. So basically, it's getting there. That experience that you guys are seeking or you want is getting there. So as Mo said, like again, the experience of just being there for that week, I think I'm sorry, I can't swap that for 1 day in Sheffield. I can't. I'm sorry. That experience is just to me. I'm sorry, man. I know you've been on the platform.
There you go. Have a fight. See who's right.
I was gonna say Sheffield is an experience though. Like to be honest with you, it's gonna get a lot better.
If it does,
it's like just stepping. Even now that I look back on it, I managed to whistle my way into it. But like now that I look back on it, to step on that platform and there's literally people with glow sticks in the background screaming, "Let's go, Mo! Let's go!"
He's gone. Anyway.
Did my internet connect?
I mean, I think personally, Mo, you were a home lifter, right? Home crowd. Yeah. That crowd was there for you.
It will be the same thing. It will be the same thing for any lifter. It was the same for Jesus, Carlina, You know, it's
Mhm.
like if there's a big name there, you will have a massive fan base screaming your name on the platform. So
Yeah.
both are amazing, but I'll say for me, Sheffield is a once in a lifetime thing to definitely
Yeah, because
experience.
you've been there, we never, so I can't say shit. So Keenan, going back to what you were saying in terms of like
Mhm.
the incentive for you switching over, you would say Sheffield, and of course, what about the factor that you can be a world champion? Does that mean anything to you, or you don't care?
I don't really care too much about it because like it's just a title, but like at the end of the day, there's the records are all there, like who has the highest total at 105, right? Like you can
So
call yourself a
so
world champion, but
you don't want to be remembered at all.
no, actually, like
I'd rather be
that's
loaded.
not that's that's definitely true. But like I actually I enjoy my anonymity. And I enjoy just being to myself and people not knowing who I am. So like being remembered as as someone, like being remembered as someone who won these things, that's not really a big appeal to me. The competition is a big appeal to me. Like if I go to a competition, I beat this person. That's what really draws me in.
You'd have to change your
What?
Instagram handle otherwise to not a random Korean dude. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It
I
doesn't
see.
really have the same flavor, does it? Yeah.
Right. I want to stay random. So.
Yeah. I think one thing you mentioned about Anatoly, you said if you and Ash move, he doesn't stand a chance. But one thing I think I'm kind of against that. I think I said the exact same thing to Ash and Bob. I said, I think we all know competition brings the best out of people.
Hmm.
Anatoly's non-40s because Anatoly has never had anyone to challenge him in terms of like,
Right.
oh, if I don't put my foot in, yeah, I know Emil has beat him. People are saying Emil has beat him, but Emil is not in the same level as Anatoly. There's no way. Do you know what I mean? But
Mm.
if you move to IPF, Ash moves in. Do you guys don't think you guys will push Anatoly to get to the level you guys are? Because I believe he's capable.
I think he'll get a higher total for sure, but um, not the total that I'm planning once I get there.
I'm glad you
Uh,
said that because the total you're planning once you get there, are you thinking about fixing your squat depth?
yeah, yeah. I know it's an issue right now. It's been an issue for me in training. So it's something that I'm gonna continue to work on, and like obviously if I end up going the IPF route anyway, it's something that like I'll have to deal with, in qualifying for IPF Worlds anyway. Um, so yeah, I don't think it's gonna be an issue.
I'm glad because you recognize that because a lot of I know you don't associate yourself to American, but to me you are American. I saw you in the USAPL, so you're American. Even everybody else that will be lifting in the USAPL England, to me, I'm gonna call them American from now on. So Americans don't actually see that problem of that squat depth we're talking about in IPF. They just think when we talk about it, they think we're taking a piss. They just go, oh, no, my squat depth is fine. No, the IPF rule squat depth is almost like it's different from the USAPL. And I'm glad that you recognize that yourself in terms of like the
Mhm.
way you've been squatting. That's the difference between you and probably other Americans. That's why you're South Koreans anyway. So in terms of you moving to IPF, what routes are you taking? Because I'm sure you're not going to go full South Korea, even unless you are becoming a CEO over there.
No, no, I can't, and I don't really want to. Like I don't want to go through that trouble. So the thing that changed is the big life thing that changed for me is I'm planning on moving back to America anyway. Um, and that's coming sooner than later. Like it's sooner than I anticipated that I would. So and should be like the 2025 is like the latest that I'll probably be still be in Korea, and sometime in 2025 I'll move back to America, if not before then. And once I'm there, it's obviously just the powerlifting America route that I'll take. And yeah, I've talked to a few people now that I've like been at nationals and stuff like that. I've been to America twice for the Arnold and for nationals this year. Like I've gotten to know a few people that can kind of help me out. and are familiar with that. Like I think one of you guys brought up Matt Gary, like his wife Susie, she was actually in Korea last week, and we had dinners, and we were talking about a lot of this stuff, like how I would be able to compete through Powerlifting America to get to Sheffield at one point. So so like I'm more knowledgeable about like how I would be able to get there, and also the like things are just lining up in my life where like it's going to be easier for me to compete in the IPF anyway. So like at this point it's a matter of when, not if.
I was gonna bring up something though, because we did have a conversation where you told me you also lived in the UK for a short period of time when you
I
were
did,
younger.
yeah.
Yeah.
Please come
Yeah.
here.
So
Please come here. We need a 105, Keenan, please. We need a 105.
do you want to cut to 83s? I think the cut would be nice.
So
yeah,
is this something you could consider coming to the UK?
Yeah, I could. I mean, I can live anywhere because I mean I work remotely. So
Yeah. Come to the
yeah.
UK. We have the British
Why are you
pound.
gonna downgrade the guy's life like that?
We better
to
than
be honest
America,
with you,
US.
man, you're gonna lose
Come
like
on.
40 kilos in your squat once you enter this weather. So
Sure, but it's smaller. The weather's shit. There's always traffic. You're ruining the guy's life, bro. What's wrong with you?
Indy, what are you talking about? We need a world champion.
What is
really,
Tony?
nah,
Tony nobody to you now.
you
we
really
clearly
want Tony's
Tony
back
nobody
to
to
be
you now.
broken. Tony will
we
be
need him
40.
one chap, yeah, because Jurins is just gonna be forever doing, strong as
Exactly.
83, but not actually
Exactly.
win worlds.
No strongest, bro.
A backstory, Keenan. I'm just telling. He came like 7th or something. I don't know. I can't even remember. And he goes, "I was the strongest 83 on a platform." We were like, "All right, okay, cool."
So it doesn't change it. It doesn't change the fact that I'm still the best lifter in the country.
Oh,
All right.
fair
Okay.
enough. Bloody hell.
You see how they're quiet, Keenan. They're so quiet.
We spelled that CUNTRY.
They're so quiet. Anyway, I mean, yeah. I mean, that's a great thing to hear. The fact that you can have the potential to go through the right of PA nuts and come to IPF. But do you really want to go through that and be second again to Ashton?
Oh, you can't say
no,
that.
I'm not being second again. I'm not being second again to Ashton. Like, I'm going after him. Like that, it's him going over to PA makes it easier because if like it's not true, but like if he stayed in the USAPL and I chose PA, like I feel like I'm running away from him, even if that's not my reasoning for doing so. So the fact that he's going over to PA, like that just makes the decision a whole lot easier because like, okay, I get the run back against him at some point.
So what do you guys think about Rondell then? Because all of you guys, I mean, you're so strong to the point where, apart from if Ashton said, "Okay, I'm going back to the military, I'm not coming back anymore," right? That means you don't have anyone to compete against. The only opportunity for you here to be competitive is to go up against Rondell. Is that something probably you ever considered to go up against him?
I can't gain that weight because Rondell's sitting at 119 right now. And I've tried being 110 at some point in my life. It just feels terrible. So I can't put on the weight to actually be a solid 120. So I'd just be lifting at a disadvantage. Like that's like having said that, like he totaled 1,045 and like I obviously want to chase the numbers that he's hitting, but to actually go to head to head against him in the same weight class would just be too much of a body weight disadvantage for me. Where like, and it wouldn't be healthy for me. Like that's the big reason for me not gaining weight, even though like I'm as tall as I am. Like I just feel a lot less healthy whenever I get past that 105, 106 mark.
So you moving to 105 in the IPF, that's another problem for Mo. I'm glad, Mo, you're moving to 120. So well done, man. Good decision.
I'm considering 93s at this point. I'm not gonna lie to you.
With the way you eat, bro, you'd get there in like a fucking day.
But I mean, my last question to you, Keenan. I'm glad again. I think I've said this so many times. glad that you move into IPF now. In terms of like, if you move to America, it's not about if you say it can be anytime soon. So, what do you think about this mass of exodus? So, these people moving from USAPL coming to IPF now from PA. What's your take on it? Because what we getting, let me just like add in one more bit before you answer this. What we're getting is, oh yeah, the world is messing around about numbers. We're gonna come to world and wipe the floor on everybody else and just kill the whole fucking planet because we're that strong. So what's your take on it? Are you just thinking just like them, or you're just being conservative?
I like it just because everyone is sharing the same space now. Because I mean, last year it was like speculative, like who's the strongest 105 or who's the strongest 120. Actually, I'm not too sure what Rondell's doing, but and then we have Perk coming over as well. Like okay, so what's Perk gonna total as a 74 at IPF Worlds? Like you all of the stuff that people were wondering, like now it's all in one location now. Like everyone that people are paying attention to, like how would they fare if they compete against one another? We get to see that now. And I want to be part of that as well. I just want to see what I can do against the best in the world. And if the best in the world is at Sheffield or is at IPF Worlds, that's where I'm gonna be. So I like it. Like I think it's a very American thing because of how cocky it is to go, okay, well, America's we're all going over to PA Nats. We're going to go to IPF Worlds. We're going to dominate. Like, I don't think it's going to actually happen. Like that, especially on the women's side. I think it's for women internationally, like the world is dominating right now, specifically France. But I'm just excited for the fact that like people who you never thought would be able to compete against each other are getting the chance to. Like, and it's not just Ashton and what he'll do against Anatoly. It's not just Perk. Like, I know that Brandon Petrie's moving over as well. I don't know what weight class to, probably 93, but like, okay, let's see what he can put up against Keiko, things like that. Like, I'm just excited to see all of it.
I was going to say, with your move into the IPF, there's one person, well, depends on when you're going to do this move. So actually, is this something that you're looking for 2024, 2025, maybe 2026? Is it like a long-term thing, or you're thinking of doing PA Nights next year?
It would be hard next year because it's pretty unlikely that I'll move that I'll leave Korea next year. I think the only way for me to do, because the route for PA Nats for me right now, so like the road to Sheffield essentially involves winning IPF Worlds. It involves getting onto the U.S. national teams. Like those aren't really guarantees for me. Like I'm sure that I should be able to do those things. Like I believe in myself to do those things, but those aren't guarantees. But what is a guarantee that I need to do 2 meets before IPF Worlds. I need to qualify for PNS and then I need to do PNS. And that the qualifying meet is the one where it's like, do I really want to put invest that much money into flying back over to the States, this 14-hour flight just to do a local competition to qualify for PNS? Living in Korea, that just doesn't seem like the smartest move. Like again, with my height, airplane seats are uncomfortable. And it like doing this twice this year already, it's just brutal.
It's a lot.
Yeah. So I think the only way for me to do a local PA meet this year would be if it's in Hawaii, because that's a shorter flight.
Okay. Because I was gonna say, out of everyone, so we've heard all the big names coming over: Austin Perkins, Rondell. Well, not Rondell, sorry, Bob Matthews, Ashton. The only weight class that's kind of vacant right now is the 66. So ideally, what would have happened is normally you get 293s because they're the most likely to go over the Carpino score and really push it. But then if you come over, you and Ashton could demolish that Carpino, and you would both be the guarantees pick for the 105, which would be fucking brutal to compete in. But so I was gonna say 2024, 2020. So if it's gonna be a 2025 route, how bad is your relation?
He's gone.
He's gone again, bro.
Is my internet disconnected?
Yeah, there he is back.
Mo, can I just say something quickly? Can you give me the hosting back, please?
The host.
Yeah, make me a host again.
Just in case.
How do I make you a host?
Go to participant, go to Sabado, and make me a host.
Oh shit! I didn't know.
He's gonna lose all the data again.
Yeah, because
Mo's internet's a bit like Mo's squat. It's changing daily.
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know how to make you a host in the first place.
We'll sort it after.
Yeah, we'll sort it after.
It'll be fine.
There you go. There you go. I've done it. So I was gonna ask, how bad is your relationship with South Korea Powerlifting Federation?
Pretty bad, but also like it's so up in the air. The chances of Korea getting anything organized in to the point where they'll be able to send any athletes to IPF Worlds is gonna. I think that's gonna take way longer than me just moving back to the States. So like that's not an option, and also it's more of a personal reason for me. I don't really actually want to represent South Korea at Worlds, because it's stupid, but like it's something that I believe in. I already served in their military. I've done enough for them. Is basically my idea, because I've never actually even gone to school here. So like I feel like a foreigner living in this country who also did did my military service here. So like I mean you guys can probably tell just from the way that I talk, I feel way more American than I am Korean. So I feel more comfortable representing that country.
Okay, and just to delve in, because obviously we have Indaraj here, who's also served in the military. His bench has suffered because of that. But I was gonna ask,
user suffered because of that.
what was your experience in the military in South Korea, and also when did you do this service? Was this after like 2020, 2021 period, or when was this?
This was after I finished school, so this was 2017. So it's been a while at this point. So
Okay.
it was a 2 year service. Didn't do much of anything, but it's mandatory, and they don't let you leave base while you're there. So it honestly felt like I was serving like a 2 year prison sentence, because you don't really do much of anything. Maybe I shouldn't say this, but I don't know if North Korea is listening to this and they think that Korea is vulnerable for some reason. But yeah, I don't actually do like I didn't feel like a soldier being there. I just felt like someone who was waiting for 2 years to get out. So that's what the experience was like for me. But nevertheless, it's something that I did because I was born in this country. So like I fulfilled my responsibility to this country, and I think representing them at IPF Worlds is just doing too much for them.
Okay. Okay, guys, I think we've chunked out an hour and like so
One
far.
question, final question. I like to ask this question because I think it's just we get a lot of young lifters listening. If you had to give 3 pieces of advice to a young up and coming powerlifter, or just a powerlifter in general, what would it be?
3 pieces of advice. First one, don't copy the technique of whoever your favorite lifter is. Like even if you think you're built the same, your bones probably aren't. So just find whatever works for you. Second one is compete as soon as you can. Don't wait until you're a certain level of strength to compete. Right? It's just best to get that in early, get that competition experience in, and then just go from there. It helps you figure out what you need to work on anyway. If you compete, like let's say you got red lighted for depth, now that you know then you know that that's an issue. Let's see. And the last one is don't get too caught up on what you see on social media. Everyone is human, so everyone only posts what they do well.
Yeah.
And that is like speaking from experience, my training goes well about half the time, and then the other half is shit. So most of the time you're only seeing half of what someone does in training, right? So don't try to replicate that. Don't think that that's what you have to do every training session, because it's not. You're going to get shitty training sessions, and it's just a part of the process.
I've got one question myself too.
Sorry,
When are we seeing you in physical 100? because I've
You're
seen.
not. You're not. I got accepted for. I got invited for their filming for season 2, which is actually happening. Which I guess happened last month because they told me that they wanted me to do it and it would happen in September. But I don't know if you guys are aware of it, but there was a lot of controversy with with how they handled the final round or something.
Yeah,
Like it was.
I heard they had like a reset and like it got
Yeah.
reset 3 times. And
Yeah.
the person they
Right.
wanted
And the
to
guy.
win won
So
it.
the guy who won initially, like he wasn't able to win because of that. And it wasn't even close. Apparently, what they did at the end, like one guy would just blew all the others away. But because that's not good for TV, they had redos. So like, it doesn't. If that's the true, it's not a true competition for me.
Yeah, but still, man, just to feature in something like that would be so.
No,
And
because
I've seen so many.
if I'm there,
Yeah.
because if I'm there, like then like this after episode 1, like I'm gonna get stopped by the street like every 3 feet of Korea, and I can't deal with that. I can't just stare at me from afar, wondering how he got that big. Like that's as much interaction as I want with people. Don't actually come up to me and ask for a picture.
You need
That's
to
really
revamp
stressful.
you need to revamp the powerlift. Man, the powerlifter we had last time was horrible. Like he was just a big.
Oh, okay,
slow-
okay. Actually, I know that guy. I know that guy.
He trained, yeah.
He's not a powerlifter. He's never competed.
Okay.
He just masquerades as a powerlifter, but his main sport is actually arm wrestling.
Oh, okay, fair enough then.
Well, why are you
sorry,
laughing
man,
for, Jurins?
mate.
Come on, don't be like that. But
You
listen,
go from-
I tell you what, Keenan, that you made a mistake saying you really hate people coming up to you asking for pictures because you're IPF world, you come to it.
Yeah, you're
I'm just
gonna-
gonna. All my stories are gonna be, yo, this guy. Make sure you go up to him, ask for loads of pictures.
Oh god.
You can't say
Oh,
that
man.
in a room full of trolls. That's game over. That is.
I know. I already dug my grave. Yeah.
Mate, Keenan, it was really, I know it's too late in Korea, so we will have to let you go now. It was nice having you, mate. It's always great to sit down and chat with you. So hopefully we can have that chat again very, very soon in terms of like what's the next moves in terms because you move into IPF, as you said, things are moving really fast. So if we get really close to that, and of course after Ashton and the Bob competed, we'll have you in to have your say about it because at the end of the day, Ashton is the man to be, and you're always going to chase Ashton to the end of the world. So thank you very much, May, and thank you, Mo. Thank you, Indy. To all our listeners and listening to us, guys, please just subscribe, like us, and send us any feedback you have, questions, and guys. Keenan on Instagram is the random guy from North Korea. Huh? I
Don't
knew
ask him
that.
for pictures.
See, don't ask me for anything. But guys, it's not actually North, it's South. I just wanted to see Keenan's reaction on that. But anyway, if you have any message or anything, guys, drop him a message. He's a very good South Korean guy. He's not like the guys from the North. He will answer to your questions and he will even give you a follow if you insist. So he's a nice guy. So, Keenan, any last comment from your side before I lock it off?
No, that's just thanks. Thanks for having me. It was I had a blast just like last time. You guys are really fun to talk to, so can't wait to be on next time.
Thank you, guys. I'll speak to you soon.
All right, see you.
Cheers, guys.